Hello students, today we are going to discuss the chapter number 2, so that is engineering ethics. So the name of the subject is professional ethics and Indian constitution. So this is there for the fourth semester electronics and communication engineering and electronic instrumentation and control engineering, and the total marks allotted for this chapter in the semester and exam is 25 marks. So myself Vijay Huggi, lecturer in electronics and communication engineering department, SJPN Trust, Polytechnic, Nirsoshi. So first the chapter starts with the concept of engineering ethics or the definition of engineering ethics. So in simple words, I can define the engineering ethics as the set of standards or a set of rules that applies to engineering profession, or I can define the engineering ethics in a different way. So that is the engineering ethics can be defined as the codes and standards of conduct endorsed by engineering societies with respect to the particular set of beliefs, attitudes and habits displayed by the individual or group. And next we are going to discuss the approaches of engineering ethics. There are two approaches of engineering ethics. So that is, first one is micro ethics and second one is macro ethics. So micro ethics is nothing but it refers to behaviors or actions between individuals, or I can define microethics in another way. So that is, it deals with decisions and problems of individuals, professionals and companies. And next one is macro ethics. Basically the macro ethics refers to behaviors or actions in group or society, or I can define macro ethics in another way. So that is, it deals with the societal problems on a regional and national level. So that is global issues, collective responsibilities of group, etc. So these two are the two approaches of engineering ethics. So next we are going to discuss the senses of engineering ethics. Basically there are two senses of engineering ethics. First one is normative sense and second one is descriptive sense. So normative sense basically includes knowing moral values, finding accurate solutions to moral problems and justifying the moral judgments in engineering practices. Second, study of decisions, policies and values that are normally desirable in the engineering practice and research. Third one, using codes and standards of ethics and applying them in their transactions by engineers. So second one is descriptive sense. So descriptive sense, it refers to what specific individual or group of engineers believe and act without justifying their beliefs or actions. So these two are the senses of engineering ethics. So next we are going to discuss variety of moral issues. So it is essential to know that why and how moral issues arise in a profession, or why do people behave unethically. So there are three types of reasons for people, including both employees and employer, behaving unethically. So that is, first one is resource crunch, second one is opportunity, third one is attitude. So first we are going to discuss what do you mean by resource crunch. So due to pressure from the political leaders, time limits, availability of budgets or technology decay, so pressure from the government to complete the project in a time, so that is example before elections, or reduction in budget due to war or natural calamities, that is earthquakes, unsafe or unethical completion of projects here. So basically it is what the pressure from the political, it may be from the political leaders, or time limit. So, right, they told to finish the work in a given time, so there will be a pressure to complete the work here, or due to availability of budgets or technologies delay or pressure from the government. So sometimes there will be a pressure from the government that you have to finish the work within this much of time. So all these what they come under resource crunch here. Second one is opportunity. So under opportunity, so first point is double standards or behavior of the employers towards the employees and the public. Second one, projecting their own interest by the employer more than that of their employees. Third one, giving more importance to the results and gains at the expense of the employees. And fourth one is management by objectives without focus on empowerment and improvement of the infrastructure. So the above problems can be resolved through effective leadership who can work confidentially with people and building cooperation, coordination, and allowing everyone to involve in every work and motivating through appraisal. And the third one is attitude. So basically the poor attitude of the employees may be due to the following reasons. The first one is low morale of employees by the dissatisfaction and downsizing. Second one is lack of promotion or career development policies. Third one is lack of transparency. Fourth, lack of recognition and reward system. Fifth one, absence of grievance redressal mechanism. And sixth one is poor working environments. So these are what variety of moral issues. So next we are going to discuss what do we mean by inquiry and the different types of inquiry. So first the inquiry is basically it is the process used to solve the ethical problems, that is known as inquiry here. So there are three types of inquiry in order to solve any ethical problems. So first one is normative inquiry, second conceptual inquiry, and third one factual and descriptive inquiry. So we are going to discuss one by one. So what all these are. So normative inquiry, it is to identify and justify the morally desirable norms and standards that should guide individuals and groups. Normative questions are about what desirable to be and what is good based on moral values. For example, how far does the obligation of engineers to protect public safety extend in any situation? Second, when, if ever, should engineers be expected to blow whistle on dangerous practices of their employers? Third one, whose values are to be primary in making judgment about acceptable risks in design for a public transport system or a nuclear plant. So second one is conceptual inquiry. So it is to clarify the meaning of concepts or ideas or principles that are expressed by words or by questions and statements. For example, what is meant by safety? Second, how is it related to risk? Third one, what is bribe? And fourth one is what is profession? So these are what conceptual inquiry. So third one is factual and descriptive inquiry. So it is aimed to get needed for understanding and resolving the value issues. For example, how were the benefits assessed? Second, what are the procedures followed in risk assessment? Third one, what are the short term and long term effects of drinking water being polluted? And fourth one is who conducted the test on materials. So these are what some of the examples of factual inquiry. And next we are going to discuss what do you mean by a moral dilemma, and what are the different situations when moral dilemmas arise here. So first, basically moral dilemma is nothing but it is a kind of situation in which difficult choice has to be made. Moral dilemmas, they are also called moral problems here. So the situations in which moral reasons come into conflict, or the situation in which the applications of moral values are becoming problems and not possible to choose or find the solutions to the problems, they are known as what? Dilemma. So in simple words I can say, so basically that is the what a kind of situation in which we have to make a difficult choice, right? We cannot able to distinguish which is a good one and which is bad one. So such a situation we call it as a moral dilemmas, and they are also called what? Moral problems here. So next question is what are the three situations when moral dilemmas arise? Before that, I am going to give an example for a moral dilemma. So one simple example I can quote is, suppose one gives a promise to his friend that he will meet him on the evening of a particular day, but unfortunately on the same day his brother or his sister has met with an accident and he has to take him to the hospital here. So there is what situation where he has given a promise to his friend that he is going to meet him on his birthday on a particular day, but unfortunately what has happened, on the same day his brother met an accident, so he has to take him to the hospital here. So the dilemma here consists of a conflict between the duty to keep promise and obligations to his brother. So in this situation, to solve his moral problem, he can make a phone call to his friend and make apology for his inability to come here. So in our day-to-day life, we face such so many situations here. So they are called what? Moral dilemmas here. And next is the three situations when moral dilemmas arise. There are three situations, that is what? The problem of vagueness, second the problem of conflicting reasons, and third one is the problem of disagreement. So we are going to discuss one by one in detail. So the problem of vagueness, it is nothing but what? The condition of being unclear. So means you are not clear with the thing or with the concept. So that is, one is unable to distinguish a good and bad. So good means an action that is obligatory. So that is what? Example, refuse, bribe or accept the gift. So these are what? Example for the problem of vagueness. Second, the problem of conflicting reasons. So here one is unable to choose between two good moral solutions. So here one has to fix priority through knowledge or value system. So third one is the problem of disagreement. So there are many solutions for the problem, but these solutions may be better or worse in some respect and not in all the aspects here. So these are what? The three situations when moral dilemmas arise. And next one is, what are the steps we can take to solve a dilemma? So the three complex situations leading to moral dilemmas, as we have seen already. So now we are going to discuss what are the different steps we can take in order to solve a dilemma. The first step is identification of the moral factors and reasons, that is to identifying the relevant moral values from among the duties, rights, goods and obligations. Second one, collection of all the information, data and facts relevant to the situation. Third one, rank the moral options, that is allotting the priority through value system, acceptable, not acceptable, etc. Fourth one, generate alternate courses of actions to solve dilemma. Fifth one, discuss with colleagues and get their opinions and suggestions on various alternatives. Sixth one, decide upon a final course of action. If there is no ideal solution, we arrive at partially satisfactory or satisfying solution here. So next concept is moral autonomy. So moral autonomy we can define as the decisions and actions are implemented on the basis of moral concern for other people and recognition of good moral reasons. So moral autonomy means self-determined or independent. So the moral autonomy may also be defined as a skill and habit of thinking rationally about the ethical issues on the basis of moral concern. So next we are going to discuss consensus and controversy. So consensus and controversy. So in the study of moral autonomy, consensus and controversies are the relevant factors to be discussed on. Consensus means agreement and a controversy means disagreement or conflict. So while applying the moral autonomy, so one cannot get the same results as by others. So this situation likely to end with controversy. In this case, a proper tolerance among the people who are autonomous, responsible and reasonable is necessary. This does not mean that forcing the engineers to reach some same moral solution. So many reasonable solutions are possible for a given ethical problem. So this ethics makes the engineers to realize the importance of tolerance among them in case of disagreement while applying moral autonomy. So next we are going to discuss what is the meaning of profession, professional and professionalism. So almost all the three words look similar, but there is what a slight difference between the three words here. That is what profession, professional, and professionalism. So profession can be defined as any occupation or job that requires skills and knowledge, self-regulation, and good service to the public. So that is what a profession. So it brings high status socially and economically. And second one is professional. So when the person does the work on profession which requires skills and knowledge, self-regulation, and good service to the public. So the term professional means a person as well as a status here. So next one is professionalism. So it is the status of a professional which implies certain attitudes or typical qualities that are expected of a professional here. So next we are going to discuss ethical theories, and they are also called the theories about the right action. So ethical theories are useful in the following situations. So that is, first one is in understanding moral dilemma. So they provide clarity, consistency, systematic and comprehensive understanding. Second one is they provide helpful practical guidance in moral issues towards the solution. Third one, while justifying professional obligations and decisions. And fourth one is in relating ordinary and professional morality. And the different criteria applied for evaluating various ethical theories or selecting the good one are: so first one is the theory must be clear and formulated with concepts and are logically connected. Second, it must be internally consistent. Third, the theory and its defense must depend only upon facts. Fourth one, it must organize basic moral values in systematic and comprehensive manner. It is to fix priority or values and provide guidance in all situations. And fifth one is it must provide guidance compatible with our moral judgments about concrete situations here. So next we are going to discuss what do you mean by self-control, self-interest, and self-respect. So almost all the words look similar, but there is a difference here. So first we are going to discuss what do you mean by self-control. It is the virtue of maintaining personal discipline. It means a strong motivation and will and avoidance of fear, hatred, lack of efforts, temptation, self-deception, and emotional response. It also consists of courage and good judgment. Self-respect actually promotes self-control. So next is self-interest. So self-interest is very essential for everyone, and it is very ethical to have self-interest. At the same time, this interest should also be used to respect others. Self-interest is for pursuing what is good for oneself. So self-interest is necessary initially to begin with, but it should be one of the prime motives for action. The other motive is to show concern for others in the family as well as society. So one's self-interest should not harm others. The principles of live and let others live and reasonably fair competition are recommended to professionals by ethicists. So third one is self-respect. So self-respect can be defined as valuing oneself in morally suitable ways. Self-respect includes recognition as well as appraisal. So recognition means that is respect to others, their ideas, decisions, ability, and rights. Appraisal, that is the properly valuing ourselves as to how well and we face moral standards and our personal commitments. Thank you.